All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's day one of 2025 and the Indian startup ecosystem experienced a rather roller coaster ride in 2024 that was characterized by a slight yet concerning decline in funding activity and, of course, a shift in the investor sentiment as well. However, there was a silver lining with several startups achieving unicorn status. The sector showed a remarkable resilience despite facing a global economic challenges. But the big question now is, now that we are stepping into 2025, what does the year really look like for the overall startup ecosystem? To discuss that and more, I'm now joined by Sanjay Nath, the co-founder of Blume Ventures. Thank you very much, Mr. Nath, for joining us here on ET Now.
Happy New Year to all of you at ET.
Mr. Nath, absolutely, and a happy new year to you as well. So, Mr. Nath, 2024 was the year, and I was just talking about it, when VCs became more money-wise, and of course, capital deployment became a tight-fisted, and of course, rightly so, because there was a lot of focus on profitability versus valuations. How are things looking in 2025 for both early stage and later stage startups?
Sure, absolutely. So, every year we say it's a return to fundamentals, and that's never been, truer than now, because we, at least on the consumer and the domestic marketplace, the startup side, all the founders have been pushing, for positive unit economics and becoming cash flow positive. So that's going to continue. I think the headwind, rather the tailwind. I think what is really positive in 2024 was it showed that large IPOs and the large total addressable markets, in our parlance we call it TAMs, were possible. You saw Zomato go public, the prior year you saw Swiggy's IPO, and I think what is really positive is you're seeing that these large outcomes are possible. That is the tailwind that we're riding into in 2025, Adesh.
Right. So that's the tailwind that you're riding. But Mr. Nath, would it be right to say that cautious optimism is a term that will come to define the startup ecosystem in 2025? And how much time before actually the full recovery happens for the ecosystem pre-2023, for instance?
You're absolutely right. I think every year we're always optimistic. Venture capital is sometimes known as adventure capital, and that's the optimist side of it. I think the cautious side comes in. What India had not shown was a recycling of cash, right? I think what we're seeing now is we're funding these startups. These fund life cycles are coming up on the 10th year, and you're seeing these IPOs and other M&A outcomes, which is very important for the ecosystem. Now, you asked about being cautious. I think from a valuation perspective, I would say, to use the term, the price is right, in the sense that we saw about at least 2022 was a period of, I would say, rich valuations, maybe even overvaluations, and we're seeing a right sizing of valuations. So in that sense, yes, we're cautiously optimistic, but also very optimistic in terms of the talent. You're seeing, we call them 2X founders, which is second time and third time founders coming out. They've built unicorns. There are L1s and L2s, which are the founding team members just below the actual founders coming out. So in that sense, we're very optimistic, right? The pool of talent that's coming out and continuing to want to become entrepreneurs and build value and then eventually take these companies public.
Absolutely. And Mr. Nath, I have some data, in fact, from Traction, which says that India is the third highest funded country in 2024, and that's ahead of China and Germany. In fact, a total of $11.3 billion was raised in 2024, and that's an increase of 6% as compared to the funding that the ecosystem got in 2023. But let's talk about global developments. A lot of them are happening, most importantly, in the United States, where there is a change in presidency. What kind of an impact do you really anticipate of that, particularly with respect to risk capital coming into emerging markets like India?
Sure. By the way, incorrectly called you by a wrong name. So happy New Year, Samita. So wonderful to be on the show. So I would say that, with the Trump administration coming back again, if you keep away and keep aside all the political affiliations and the thoughts, I think it's going to be positive, of course, for the US, for the world in terms of business. If you look at the, all the upsurge in AI, we are seeing, San Francisco come back in, and the reason that is relevant is that India and the US have always been close. You're seeing a lot of development in the ecosystem. You've got wonderful organizations such as Blume and many others that have really made that ecosystem vibrant. And you're seeing many founders who are starting up in Bangalore, Gurgaon, Pune, but have one foot there, and they're building AI first, agentic, agent-driven AI-powered platforms, and we have many of them in our portfolio. Right from Pixel and Space Tech to Atomic Work to Lambda Test and many more. So that's all going to, prove positive. You're also seeing a bit of the controversy around H-1B, the issue, which is, a buzz on Twitter. But you saw President Trump and, Elon Musk also come in. And I think that's going to just bode positively for India, not negatively.
You say that that's going to be a positive point with all the controversy happening around the H-1B visas, Mr. Nath. But talking about global uncertainties, one doesn't really know whether there will be a stoppage on the Russia-Ukraine war. Even you already have two wars brewing. How much of an impact do all of these geopolitical developments will have on investor sentiment, particularly with respect to, like I said, risk capital, and how much capital really comes into emerging markets like India?
Sure. That's a great question, Sumita. In one sense, we are the earliest part of the finance food chain, right? Because we are not only venture capital, but we're early stage venture capital. So I think a couple of things on the macro. I think we're seeing that India has become, not going to become, but already become a bulwark to China. We are definitely a counterfoil. The US-India, I think, relations, I feel, will become even stronger. And I think you're seeing India is innovating beyond software, not just the typical SaaS and AI and consumer internet, but you're also seeing semiconductors, you're seeing space tech, you're seeing deep tech research, right from universities, which means that earlier, a lot of this innovation was happening only in China. You look at EV and climate. I mean, coming back to Blume, we've got battery smart, Euler motors, Yulu bike. We're seeing tremendous innovation even on EV and climate. So all that's again boding positively well. Coming back to the geopolitical side, I think venture capital is all about helping founders increase the odds of the success and reduce their odds of failure. So we have to control the variables that that are within us. And I think if we can manage to not overpay, manage entry valuations, keep up the robust, IPO and the IPO markets here, and also, M&A in Silicon Valley and globally, and just make it, make the regime more tax friendly, both, in terms of entry and exit. We've had in the past things like angel tax. It's difficult to re-domicile. I think if we just, make it, if we increase the ease of use for businesses to set up, grow, and exit, then that's all going to bode positively. But I will say we're one of the most geopolitically stable, superpowers in the world. So again, that's very positive.
Absolutely, and it is definitely the stability and, of course, the trust that various countries have in the capabilities of India, Mr. Nath. But I'll come to the IPO point in just a bit. You mentioned about a couple of sectors, semiconductors, for instance. One, of course, the government is also giving a push to deep technology, startups, EVs, clean tech, and even defense ecosystem. But what sectors are you particularly bullish on when it comes to investing in startups in some of these sectors?
Sure. We stuck to this playbook from day one. I mean, Blume One was, we started Blume Fund One in 2011, and we've always believed there are two Indias. About 2/3 of what we do are really built in India for India. So everything from, and some of these are household names, Spinny in the car marketplace front, Purple for women's, health, beauty, and wellness. Healthify Me on the health consumer internet platform side, and then you've got the other side, which is about 1/3, 40% what we do, which is really deep tech and SaaS and AI. We've got Atomic Work, Gray Orange Robotics, Pixel Space. Now in that you're seeing further innovation. For example, we have a company called Ethereal Machines that does CNC machines and and manufactures and has built that as a software service. So you're seeing innovation around semiconductors. You're also seeing grants and tighter linkages between industry and VCs and universities, which was not the case, which is why, universities like Stanford and MIT in the West have been so successful. Now you're seeing tremendous innovation, at ISC, the IITs and BITS Pilani, NIT, and that's very positive. So I think you're going to see innovation beyond pure, I would say, incremental process innovation to true deep tech innovation. And EV and climate is huge. Our market is, we're the largest population in the world, that the reducing carbon footprint, not just for the world, but that India can have a role to play and just make, starting from Delhi, our own air cleaner and better to, for the, the new generation to come in. It's going to be very positive.
Right. Right, Mr. Nath. So a couple of very interesting sectors, and of course, we'll be keeping a close watch on funding trends in those sectors. But one final question before I let you go. Now, when you look at 2024, it was the abolishment of angel tax on investments in startups that was expected to give a huge boost to investors and entrepreneurs. There were a whole host of expectations with respect to the scrapping of the tax, that it would boost liquidity in the sector. How much of an impact has that had on the ecosystem?
I think all new initiatives, even when they're positive, take some time to play out. It is certainly positive. I think it'll be interesting to see the end of this year to measure the impact. I'll point out a couple of other positive, impactful trends. I think one is the whole setup of GIFT, right? You're aware that many of the funds would set up in Mauritius, and now we have GIFT right here in the state of Gujarat. That's very positive because that's not only attracting greater foreign investment into India, but it's on India shores. And I think what we are, SEBI has also been working on easing, listing norms. We're also looking at, making it easier for foreign, for foreign capital to come in. And I think ultimately is a recycling of cash and creating this steady stream of almost, let's call it an IPO pipeline. If we are able to create that and create more of the Zomatos and Swiggies, we have many in our own portfolio that will go public the next couple of years, starting from, including Purple and Servify and many others. And I think that recycling and this IPO pipeline that keeps returning capital is we're just going to recycle and create more entrepreneurs coming. And that's what, the Indian startup ecosystem needs.
Absolutely, Mr. Nath. And of course, the Prime Minister has a big vision of making India the biggest startup ecosystem in the world. So definitely on the right path, and lots of action and activity expected in the startup ecosystem in this year. On that note, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us right here on ET Now, and hope to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you, Sumita, for having me on, and wish the whole ET family a very happy New Year from Blume, all of us at Blume.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, it's time for us to slip into a quick break, with lots more coming up on the other side. You don't go anywhere and stay tuned to ET Now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Startup Central, and let's take a look at the payment space. Well, in a big move, NPCI has removed UPI user onboarding limit for WhatsApp Pay with immediate effect. In fact, WhatsApp Pay can now extend its UPI services to its entire user base in the country, unlike previously when there was only a phased expansion allowed. My colleague Anjali Palod is here with the details of that move. Anjali, so help us understand what brought about this change of strategy and how is it going to benefit WhatsApp Pay?
That's right. Good news coming in for WhatsApp, as NPCI has removed the UPI user onboarding limit that was imposed on the UPI payment service app by the messaging app. So when WhatsApp Pay was first launched in India, they had a limit of onboarding 1 million users, as the NPCI wanted WhatsApp Pay to expand in a phased manner. Later, this limit was extended to 100 million users, but now as the cap has been removed, WhatsApp can now target all of its 500 million users in India for its UPI payment service app. WhatsApp Pay will have to continue to abide by all UPI guidelines as well as circulars.
All right, definitely this comes as a huge relief for WhatsApp Pay, but staying with the payments ecosystem, ladies and gentlemen, Paytm was one company that was reeling under pressure on day one of 2025. In fact, it was on the back of that delay from NPCI that came on UPI's market share cap. In fact, the stock plunged almost 55% from its IPO levels. So what does that really mean for the company going forward, and is there more growth opportunity expected for the company? My colleague Sharad is giving us more lowdown on that. Sharad.
Well, yes, Paytm in the day's trade also seeing the stock is trading lower, and of course the important thing, the bear case which I want to make is that the UPI market share cap has been postponed by 2 years. Now interestingly, they are having less number of market share when it comes in the UPI segment, of course the larger players being PhonePe and Google Pay. So there is a relaxation coming for their peers, and in return there has been a negative sentiment on a short-term basis. But Snehi, what are the important bull cases for Paytm?
Absolutely, the first one to counter exactly what you have said. Okay, agreed, there is a little bit of a postponement coming in, but you also have to remember that the regulator has now allowed UPI payments to and from prepaid instruments via third-party apps. So that is something that is positive, and they've also upped that ceiling to 10,000 rupees. That's also something important to note about, Sharad. This could be an incremental positive for Paytm going ahead as well.
Well, Snehi, there are recent news flows also coming in, and a spate of resignations are coming in. Recently, the chief compliance officer also resigned, and of course the company is going under restructuring, so we might see more senior management actually leaving the company as well.
Well, we can talk about restructuring, Sharad. A couple of positives also to focus on. The company is now focusing only on its core business, and that can be very visible seeing the recent activities that they have undertaken when it comes to the structure of the company. Remember, Paytm has recently sold its ticketing business to Zomato. They have also sold stake in PayPay Corp. They've sold a stake of their business in PayPay Corp to Japan as well. So that is also something that is important to focus on, and it also shows that the management is confident of the core business, and that's also looking good for Paytm.
But Snehi, there is always a question of the macro environment, and right now for the macro environment, be it the banks, be it the financial institutions, and even fintechs itself, there is an uncertainty coming in, and especially in the unsecured lending portion. And also RBI has been whipping the crack when it comes to the fintech as well. So of course the macro uncertainty is something which I would be very cautious for.
Absolutely, but also on the flip side, now can't help but notice the positive here. The company has once again reapplied for the payment aggregator license from the RBI. So this means this is also a positive development coming in for Paytm. Plus NPCI, which is the National Payments Corporation of India, has approved, they've allowed Paytm to onboard new UPI payment customers as well, and new users, fresh users. So that is also incrementally positive for Paytm.
All right, thanks guys for bringing us the bulls versus bears case for Paytm. And ladies and gentlemen, before we end the show, let's also take a look at what India ordered on New Year's Eve. Well, from cakes to biryanis to going as far as ice cubes and grapes. If you know, you know. These are a handful of items that Indians ordered on the New Year's Eve. My colleague Asta Chopra is here with more delivery trends from giants like Swiggy and Zomato. Let's take a look. So Asta, I was seeing a lot of tweeting by founders of these companies. Do take us through. What did India order, and most importantly, how did India order?
While the celebration was seen for the 31st of December across India, there are some reports from the quick commerce segment. What are the new trends and fun facts what people have ordered for their parties and families? Starting out with the first platform, which is Swiggy and Swiggy Instamart. When we are talking about food, chicken biryani tops the list always. So chicken biryani was delivered in 164 seconds in Nellore. And the fun fact was the delivery guy also stated that the user took more time to open the door versus the delivery time of the biryani. So this was one of the most fun fact. Also 2,96,711 orders were placed for the cake. So this is new trend which is witnessed. Everyone wants to start their New Year's by cutting the cake. So this was a new trend. Also second number of the food delivery was a pizza. Approximately 3 lakh pizzas were ordered on the 31st midnight. Burger follows. 1,16,099 burgers were also placed, and approximately 2,24,000 people have ordered food for others party, for family ones, for other family members as well. Also, the delivery partners, the report states the delivery partners has travelled approximately 65,19,841 kilometers on the 31st nights while delivering the order, which is 8 times the distance to and from the Earth to the Moon. So this is one of the fact. The delivery partners also travelled so much for delivering the food as well. Second up to the platform is Zomato and Blinkit. Zomato and Blinkit also customer ordered unusual items. Now this time their list had grapes in it. So grapes were unexpectedly added to the list of the frequently ordered items, while the Blinkit delivering 7x more grapes than the usual days. So the grapes were ordered 7 times more as compared to the usual days on the 31st of December. Blinkit has already surpassed the total number of orders they received in New Year's Eve of 2023. The report was out at 5 p.m. yesterday that Zomato has already surpassed its own record, broke its own record as compared to 2023. Last but not least, Zepto. Zepto hits 4.9 more product searches this year as compared to last one. Also, a fun fact, a user ordered 21 kgs of ice, and altogether Zepto was ordered 3,345 ice cubes order per minute, which is 2.62% more than what it orders last year. So this was the trends and fun fact for the quick commerce, which added to their cart this time as compared to 2023.
Right, Asta. A lot of, very, very interesting orders that were placed. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, let's also take a look at how people were traveling. In fact, data from Oyo shows that booking on the platform was up from 2023 by a whopping 58%. But which were the top destinations that people visited? My colleague Aishwarya is here with more details. Aishwarya, so I was seeing Ritesh from Oyo actually tweet about some of these trends, and he said that Dehradun and Srinagar became the most booked hill stations. What more do you know about how Indians traveled on New Year's Eve?
Well, New Year's Eve began with a bang for quick commerce platforms, but it was also raking up the charts as far as bookings are concerned on the travel and tourism side. In fact, Oyo put out some data yesterday, and their early trends show some of these numbers. They say 1.1 million travelers booked Oyos across the world on New Year's Eve, which is a 58% increase from their 2023 numbers. And 41% of the users have been using the platform or booked the platform at this time around 2 a.m. So late night bookings was another trend. Now, underdogs stealing the show as far as hill stations are concerned. Normally, you would find Dehradun and Srinagar, which were the most booked hill stations anyway. But this time around, there were some new contenders, including Coorg, which saw a 28% increase in New Year Eve bookings, as well as Mussoorie, which also saw about a 10% increase in bookings. Spiritual destinations is another trend that Oyo has pointed out towards. Banaras or Varanasi became the most popular spiritual travel destination with about 12,841 bookings for New Year's Eve. Ayodhya is also one of the new entrants in the top charts as far as spiritual destinations are concerned across India. Shirdi saw at about 940% increase in bookings, and Ajmer also experienced about 761% of bookings on Oyo's platform. So that's a roundup of what travel looked like, especially for a platform like Oyo.
You know, Aishwarya, we were expecting that more and more people will go to party destinations, but it seems like spiritual tourism is taking up in a big way, is being taken up in a big way by youngsters. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap on this edition of Startup Central. Hope you liked the show as much as we did putting it together for you. Like I said during the start of the show, if you have any ideas or if you want to share your thoughts with us on what you'd like to watch on the show, do write to us at suc@etnow.tv, and see you tomorrow. Thanks very much for tuning in.